You know our problem. We have lost all ability to look at life as a whole. We do not see the universe in front of us, not as a young child prior to the education of language does. And the reason we do not see life as it is that we live in a mind which is constantly translating the universe into separate bits. Our mind is made up of words and images, and words divide and break up any potential to see the whole of life. Words divide. A door is not a floor, is not a wall, is not a ceiling. Mary is not John, and John is not Fred, and Fred is not Jane. A Catholic is not a Protestant, but both are Christians, and neither of these are Muslims. An Israeli is certainly not a Palestinian, and the Chinese man is not an American woman. Do you see how words divide? Words break up this universe. The meaning of the word universe was originally one song. Words must break up, for the job of any language is to communicate any possibility, and so language is measured and adaptable to paint any picture. Words divide our inner psychological world also. Thinker and thought is a division of words. Fear and pleasure. We look through words which inform us about what we are seeing, and we live on this verbal conceptual translation of words which was educated into us all during our school years. A process of continual concentration on past life experiences in the inner field of memory. There is a marvel to language. One can communicate many things to another using this learned verbal code which represents our life. Our problem, however, is that we now have developed into a pattern whereby we live within our educated inner symbols for life comprehensively, and we have lost completely our potential for relationship to the whole of life, which is also the holiness of life, to a complete view of the present expansive, silent living and dying actuality in front of our senses. We view our life through inner computer-like translations, flat, meaningless sounds, words and images, text and graphics, and we are all but lost to the unbelievable, immense beauty of this infinite living universe, which gave birth to our lives, which takes us into its silence at death, and of which we are always a living and dying part. Seeing the whole of life as it is naturally demands a very quiet brain. A mind constantly talking to itself is incapable of perceiving the whole of life, and is incapable of any meeting of any religious quality in their life. For religion, true religion, is only found by a quiet mind. A silent mind comes to meet the sacred of life. A mind which is without inner charter is an undivided mind, a whole mind, and in such completion, the mind itself becomes sacred. True religion has nothing at all to do with belief. Belief is a movement within thought, which is memory, and the sacred quality of life is forever bound to a universal quality of creation, present only ever in the living present moment of creation, present now. Memory, where we live, which is thought, which is the past, which is knowledge, denies any contact with a holistic and so holy and sacred view of the totality of our living universe. Why did Christ say, "Blessed are all who suffer, for they shall see the kingdom"? It was certainly no physical suffering Jesus spoke of, no broken legs. He spoke of psychological suffering, and God knows there's enough of that on our dreadfully mismanaged planet of chaos today, on our road to building back better by destroying all. Blessed are those who suffer. What did he mean? Psychological suffering brings attention to psychological contradiction. Psychological suffering brings attention to psychological contradiction. A mind caught within its own divisively self-generated field of internal psychological suffering, whatever the imagined cause, is a mind living in illusion, and suffering is the discontent crying out for the brain to listen, to make sense of its inner contradictions. It is surely only when we study a problem comprehensively that we find the only useful solution. The answer to any problem will be found in the problem, and we will never be free of any problem until we comprehensively see and so understand completely the whole problem. At that moment in time, there is no problem. Healing is immediate, The moment the totality of the problem has been understood, we need not look for any solution, neither work towards an opposing future state of imagined freedom from our pressing issues. We need only look and listen patiently, quietly, and without choice, and allow our problems to talk to us, to tell us a story. If I can listen fully to this story, the solution to my problem will present without even any one step of effort. Did Christ suffer? Why did he say this? Christ went to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. Why? The church has greatly romanticized this period of Christ's life, claiming he faced the devil. Well, perhaps he did, and perhaps the devil he faced was more known to us than we could ever imagine. Christ was talking of a quantitative change in the life of a human being. He stated, "Blessed are those who suffer." Suffering can lead our lives to freedom and liberation. Suffering may be the door to the sacred, but the approach to this door, perhaps, has to be very specific. Do you know psychological suffering in your life? Then walk with me a little. Let us look at this inner movement together. Does the movement of thought have relationship to psychological suffering? Are you looking? Listening to words may help pass the time, but unless you can find a deep passion for the art of watching what you call your inner mind choicelessly, you will never breathe a free breath in this life. Your life is being lived in bondage to the past. The past is what you know. Thought arises within you from what you know. According to the Bible, mankind was removed from the Garden of Eden, from a life of heavenly bliss, by eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. Thought is knowledge. We have many psychologically inward-wired mechanisms which work to prevent us meeting truth in life. We abhor suffering. We have been programmed to find an answer or to escape, or to suppress, take drugs. We never hold our suffering, patiently watching every facet of this inevitability of a life lived wrongly. Suffering can teach us a great deal if we can learn how to look without choice. You do not look if you are seeking to transform suffering in some future state. If you are seeking a solution, you are already occupied, and being occupied, you are not free to look, and so the understanding of suffering can never be comprehensive. Any motive to change what you see, therefore, denies any ability to see. You cannot look if you are running away, if you are suppressing, rationalizing, or battling against anything. The approach to understand yourself, transform your life, and so become the transformation of this world, is to study yourself and learn the art of observing yourself without any choice. I will tell you what you will come to see if you can do this. You will come to see inevitably, for it is so that the thinker is the thought, and that there never was any division. Seeing will tell you this. You will find in seeing for yourself that your worst inner nightmares, your darkest despairs, your worst fears, your agonized anxieties are all being self-generated. For the thinker is the thought, the observer is the observed. And in coming to this true vision for yourself, not accepting anyone's words, which is childish, pointless, and without any meaning, to believe what anyone tells you about anything, without following their footsteps on the same path, has no meaning for your life. You're living as a second-hand person. Walk the path and climb the mountain. Breathe in the fresh air and take in the new view. Can you look at yourself choicelessly to find out the truth of what you are? That's it. Can you? Without this ability, look at this world. Look at our race, humanity. We must revolutionize our minds. Who sees this? Look at how we treat each other. Look at what we call order in politics, in medicine, in business, in finance, in government, in life. Regardless where mankind lands in 2030, regardless how many of us are still here alive, how many survive these years of foreboding, regardless the twists and turns and certain battle-torn futures of man. For without change, we will continue to war. Humanity's existence will never burn so brightly, nor in such magnificence, as when he lives in the wisdom of total vision of where he is and when his life actually is, here and now, in silence and living with what is real and true in life. A religious life, a life on solid ground. Walk with me. Come, look at yourself.